College with Storm Center Communications and Geo Collaborate. It's Thursday, July 3rd. One more day until Independence Day. Happy 4th of July to everybody. We are monitoring some activity in the tropics, some in the eastern Pacific with Tropical Storm Flossie. Boy, it's really falling apart. Remember, we talked about yesterday it moving into cooler waters of the eastern Pacific, and the winds are really dying down now. That's good news, but still waves are emanating from the center of that storm and the wind field. So pretty rough out there, even down towards Cabo San Lucas, the tip of Baja, California. Some pretty big waves happening there. And we're also monitoring a potential area. We've been talking about this for a couple of days down in the Florida area for a potential tropical system. I'm going to dive into that. I'll give you some impacts, particularly as we approach the 4th of July weekend. It's a long weekend. Everybody really looking forward to relaxing, being with family and friends. Last thing you want when you go to the beach is a tropical system. And it looks like there may be some sort of development taking place. Models have been picking up on it. The National Hurricane Center is saying, yes, we're going to monitor this. And the probability that something is going to develop has increased for today. So let's start first and foremost. This update is for the All Hazards Consortium, the sensitive information sharing environment where we share information across platforms from private sector liaisons within state emergency operations centers and also with private sector owner and operators that move products and services across the country. People deliver power to your house. They are utilities. We monitor and help them move across the country so they can get into areas to restore power quicker. And we do that through these weather updates, high resolution imagery, and all sorts of other information that we get from inside the All Hazards Consortium that we can pass along that helps response and recovery move more smoothly. So let's take a look. Here's what we have. This is the Goes East satellite. We're having a little hit on one of the images, so you'll see that flash up when I move the satellite imagery here in just a minute. All the way down here in the lower left-hand portion, that is Tropical Storm Flossie. Flossie did reach Category 3 status a couple of days ago for a brief period of time. But now it is down to tropical storm status. Let's take a look from the full screen perspective. Wow. Look at that. Isn't that a spectacular image? I mean, just stand back and look at this for a moment. All the different weather systems that are moving across the country. Look at this swirl southeast of Hudson's Bay. That's a low pressure system. This frontal system that created so much rain across the mid-Atlantic states and even some severe weather in Kentucky a couple of days ago. That is now moved off the coast. But look, it's hanging back here across Florida. And we talked about that. That is going to be the impetus for a circulation to develop, likely along Florida's east coast and not in the Gulf. So that's good news there. Let's dive in a little bit closer here to Tropical Storm Flossie. I'm going to go over here and get a little bit closer. We're going to switch over to the Goes West satellite. Here we go. Look at that perspective. So now Flossie comes into a better view here, and I can move this over to the left a little. Here's Hawaii. Know anybody in Hawaii? They're getting some beautiful weather. The westerlies there are really just delivering some low-level cumulus, some stratus clouds, but gorgeous day for the most part in Hawaii. But as you move way to the east, this is Flossie. Let's dive in a little bit closer to a cool visible satellite picture from Goes West. Here we go. Flossie is now a post-tropical cyclone as of 4 p.m. Eastern time. So that is not too long ago. Maximum sustained winds now 40 miles per hour. Pressure up to 1,003 millibars. The location 21.2 north. 112.4 west, moving northwest at 10 miles per hour. Cabo San Lucas right here. So you can see they have southerly winds coming in. So the waves are pretty big and pretty rough. And there are rip currents out there. The storm is moving to the west-northwest. So that means it's moving away from Mexico, and that's good news. I'll zoom out here just so you can get a bigger picture. Look at these low-level clouds. These are stratocumulus clouds indicating cooler air, cooler water, more stable environment, and that air is being drawn into the storm, and dry air is going to engulf this system, and it is going to basically disappear to a tropical depression over the next day and a half to 2 days. Well, geocollaborate. Let's talk about Flossie here just for a second. I'll take you full screen. We have a number of things going on. I'm going to move this up just a little bit. Here's Flossie. Look at the wind field. Notice that the probability of tropical storm force winds is nowhere near Baja California right now. That is good news. So the storm's wind radii is really diminishing. With a 45 mile per hour tropical storm force wind speed, it's in a very narrow area of the storm. So look how this is just going to really peter out as it goes into the cooler waters. These D's with the circle around them, they're tropical depression, basically a subtropical depression, losing its tropical characteristics because the water temperatures are so cool. But we go down to the southeast, and what do we have here? Well, the National Hurricane Center and us, we are monitoring this potential development area, and it looks like it's going to happen. I'm going to show you that on the satellite picture too here in just a moment. But this area has a high likelihood, a 80% chance in the next 7 days of developing into a tropical system. Tropical cyclone, could be a tropical storm or a hurricane. And the 2-day probability is 40%. So we have something here that is likely to develop. Let's take a look on the satellite picture and what it looks like. Here you go. This is what it looks like south. Here's Mexico, south of Mexico. You can see, I'll back out just a little bit here so you can see where we are. There's a little bit of circulation going on already with this area of low pressure. So confidence is pretty high that we are going to see some very likely development of a tropical system here. And I'll back out here with the sea surface temperature data turned on just to show you what that looks like. Let's move this over here on goes west. We'll zoom in a little bit. We'll still keep Flossie in the view just a little. But here's the next system. You can almost see a counterclockwise circulation in here. This will likely be our next system. And that is something that we'll have to watch over the next couple of days. So let's switch our focus now over to the East Coast. And I'll go back over to geocollaborate here, and we'll pull that up. So here is Florida and the southeast part of the U.S. Okay, I'll zoom in just a little bit closer here. So you can see where the National Hurricane Center has refocused their attention as we get closer to the time where this low pressure is going to develop. I think it's already showing signs of developing, and we'll be able to see that in the cloud field when I switch over to the GOES East satellite, and that'll give us a good indication. I'm also going to show you some radar data too. But this is the area that the Hurricane Center thinks that the tropical system will develop over the next 4 to 5 days, maybe 3 to 5 days here, because they have located a somewhat of a center here over Florida. See, so we're getting showers, we're getting thunderstorms. There is some circulation, just a broad low pressure. You wouldn't even notice it if we weren't talking about it here today, other than showers and thunderstorms are forming over the peninsula. But as this area of circulation moves over the ocean, we do have warm temperatures that are going to fuel, or at least give us the necessary ingredients we need to grow a tropical cyclone, which could become a tropical depression. We're not really expecting a hurricane to develop at this point. We will certainly be monitoring it 24/7, 365 to let you know. Let's go over to the satellite picture and we'll show you that loop here. Here is Florida, and here is the GOES data. This is from the high-resolution GOES East satellite. You can see the thunderstorms developing south of the Space Coast, along the Gold Coast here, down towards Miami. That is some moderate to heavy thunderstorm activity. And look, through the central part of Florida, surprise, surprise, it's summer. but this is not really sea breezes connecting here to or colliding to create these thunderstorms. This is more instability related to this low pressure system. Now, look at these cumulus clouds here. You can see them sort of moving to the south. You can see these clouds moving this way, and these clouds over here. There's some gust fronts from other thunderstorms. Look at that. That is pretty darn cool. That is downdrafts from these thunderstorms spreading out, creating these gust fronts that we can see from this high-resolution satellite imagery. That has some gusty winds to it. If you're out there sailing, you'll feel it. It'll fill the sails, that's for sure. But we have a circulation around here. It's not well defined. And as this moves over into the Atlantic Ocean over the next day or two, we should see a low pressure system form. And notice the sea surface temperature data. The sea surface temperatures are warm. I'll do a little bit of a drawing here. You can see here those gust fronts that are moving out in that direction. That's pretty neat. But let me do this. Let me move this satellite picture up just a little bit further like this. And you can see the winds are moving sort of in this way. The cumulus field, low pressure or low clouds moving down this way. And then some other clouds, low clouds moving this way. These are primarily gust fronts, but there's just a little bit of convergence going on at the coast here. Could be sea breeze kicking off thunderstorms. But generally speaking, there's a low pressure system, broad one, located over the peninsula of Florida. That is why, and I'll keep that drawing on, that is why the Hurricane Center has identified this center here. It's saying, look, it's going to move into this area of the Atlantic, and it is likely that we'll see some sort of development. Now, what kind of impacts might we have for this development? Let's take a look at that. So we're monitoring the tropics, obviously. Will we continue to monitor the tropics throughout the weekend? There are possible coastal impacts. We have that area of development that you just saw on GeoCollaborate. It's a 60% chance, which is fairly high, better than 50% chance. And so I've identified the towns here, some of the larger coastal towns that may be impacted with the following things. Going to get windy, breezy, winds coming off of the ocean. And you know what that means? That means that it kicks up waves. And when you get kicked up waves from those winds and those persistent easterly or southeasterly winds, it also means rip currents. Be very careful about going into the ocean in any of these areas, from Jacksonville, Florida, up to Savannah, Georgia, Charleston, South Carolina, and Myrtle Beach, the whole Grand Strand there. If you go into the water, make sure you go in near a lifeguard. They will likely have the flags up that rip currents are in the area. And also in Wilmington, North Carolina, Jacksonville, North Carolina, if you're there, and also the Outer Banks of North Carolina, look for increased winds and wave action. Not only that, and the rip currents, but you will have periods of rain. Some of that rain could be heavy at times. As this system starts to develop, the rain showers will become more numerous, and they could become more intense on a local level, meaning, yes, you may have to avoid some of the roads in these coastal highways. You know what happens when it rains hard in these coastal areas. The roads flood, particularly at high tide, because the water doesn't have room to drain into the ocean or into the back bays because the tide has come up. So this is what we're looking at right now, the period of time, July 4th to July 7th. And so, yes, your fireworks displays may be delayed, may be put off by a day. They may go early. They may go during the evening tonight, or maybe tomorrow evening to the north before any impacts happen. So confidence is pretty high that you're going to have quite a few firework activities. Not that everybody likes them. I know that fireworks disturb animals. They really do put the fear of God in dogs And cats, you just want to hold them tight, tell them it's okay. Hopefully it'll be over soon. And hopefully the amount of personal fireworks diminishes. But I know what you're going through with a pet myself, and fireworks are really disturbing for them. But it is the opportunity to celebrate our nation's birthday. But at the same time, we're monitoring this potential tropical development. Now, let me show you what it looks like from the standpoint of some previous data and information that we have here. So as far as the 2025 hurricane names in the Atlantic, this is what we've reached so far. We've had Andrea and Barry, two very short-lived tropical systems. Andrea way out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Barry, very, very small, also a very short-lived tropical storm in the Bay of Campeche before it made landfall in Mexico. So none of the United States Gulf Coast, Atlantic coast has experienced any storms yet this year. The next one, if it were to be named, if it were to become a tropical storm, would be Chantal. Chantal would be the third name on the list. So what about the forecast? Let me remind you of the outlook, the hurricane season outlook. The number of total storms that was predicted by NOAA, 13 to 19 storms, named storms. Colorado State University, 17 named storms. They're a little bit more deterministic. How many hurricanes are we expecting? 9, Colorado State is. And NOAA, between 6 and 10. We've had no hurricanes this year so far. Also, we've only had 2 of those named storms. How many major hurricanes in the Atlantic Basin? 0. We'd love to see it remain at 0 throughout the season. But of course, the peak of the hurricane season is in September. September 11th is actually the climatological peak of the hurricane season, but it ramps up throughout July into August to the peak in early September. So that's what it looks like right now from the forecast standpoint. And what about the Eastern Pacific? The Eastern Pacific numbers look like this. Not really numbers, but names. Look at all the storms that we've had. We've had Alvin, Barbara, which was a Category 1 hurricane. We've had Cosme, Delilah, and Delilah were both, they were tropical storms. But then we had Hurricane Eric, reached Category 4 status, not far from a Category 5 it reached. And then Flossie. And Flossie is out there. We just showed you what's happening to Flossie. Flossie's diminishing in intensity. That's good news. 45 mile per hour winds. Probably be a tropical depression by this time tomorrow or even sooner. And the next name system would be Gil. That would be Gil, and that's the one that we're watching in the Eastern Pacific that the Hurricane Center has tagged an 80% likelihood of developing over the next several days. So we're really going through the list here in the Eastern Pacific. We'd rather do that than go through the list in the Atlantic, that's for sure. So back to the satellite imagery. This is what's going on in Florida, because I did want to show you some radar data as well. You see the thunderstorm activity, and that is here in southern Florida, South Florida. These are all kind of scattered thunderstorms here, including Miami, including Naples, down towards Fort Myers, even in the Tampa, St. Pete area, Clearwater, some thunderstorms there moving ashore. They are all associated with this upper level low pressure system, but rest assured, it's not a tropical system as of yet, but we are monitoring it. Let's go over and show you what it looks like from the radar perspective in Florida. Okay, here we go. So here's the radar data, and you can see these thunderstorms, and you can almost see a circulation in this thunderstorm activity. I'll let this roll, but look, these storms seem to be moving this way, and then it seemed to be moving that way. And then there's almost a circulation, a large circulation here. So that's what we're watching, because as it moves over the ocean and picks up more energy from the ocean, that's when we could see something more tropical develop. Right now, it's a combination of this area of low pressure and the front that has really become stationary over the state of Florida, kicking up these storms. And yeah, if you're under one of these storms, really heavy rain, 1 to 2 inch rain rates per hour. And there doesn't look like any severe thunderstorm warnings at this point, although this one here looks like a special marine warning for these thunderstorms along the Space Coast, moving out over Kennedy Space Center and Cape Canaveral Air Force Station, moving out towards the ocean. So you should be out of the water if you're boaters. You don't want to deal with these kind of thunderstorms. Okay, let's wrap this up with a look at the model forecast over the next couple of days, because I just want to focus in on this area along the southeast. This is actually the European model, the ECMWF. It stands for European Center for Medium Range Weather Forecasts. They have a model. Congratulations also, Europe. They launched one of the latest, most advanced weather satellites, even with a hyperspectral sensor on board. They'll be taking all sorts of measurements through the atmosphere to really advance numerical weather prediction, at least on the European side. Hopefully we'll be able to ingest some of that data here in the United States as well. But I want to take you through this over the next couple of days and show you what it looks like. This is this afternoon. You can see those scattered showers and storms across Florida. But as I take this into the future, you'll see this weak low pressure system popping up over the west coast of Florida, and showers and storms just coming in during the daytime with that afternoon heating. And now we're into Friday afternoon, so July 4th. And then Friday afternoon, July 4th, the same as well. Later in the afternoon and early in the evening, this is about fireworks time here, maybe a little bit early. But you can see scattered showers and storms on the west coast and also on the east coast of Florida. And we're starting to see a low pressure system develop here. Now, those of you living in Jacksonville and Savannah and Orlando, I know you're very concerned about a tropical storm or a hurricane forming. I'm with you. I understand how you feel. This is not going to be any sort of mature hurricane that's moving towards you with devastating winds and storm surges like we saw last year in Hurricane Helene. So we're not going to see anything like that. The models slowly take this system to the northeast, and I'll show you that as I put this back into motion here. Let's go into Saturday afternoon. You'll see the low becomes a little bit better organized, and notice it doesn't really move that fast. It's still a weak low pressure system. Hurricane Center might make it a tropical depression, could be a TD3 for this season, but we can see an increase in the amount of precipitation. That's why I highlighted Myrtle Beach, Charleston, Wilmington, North Carolina, Jacksonville, North Carolina, and the Outer Banks. Wind circulation around these low pressure systems is counterclockwise, so it'll be pushing wind. The wind will be blowing onshore from Savannah, Georgia, all the way up to the Outer Banks. So we're going to see numerous rip currents, very large waves, large swells, and it's going to be windy. It's going to be tough setting up those canopies on the beach. Flying a kite, going to be maybe enjoyable for the first 5 minutes or so. But as this low pressure system becomes a little bit better organized, that's where we'll see more impacts, more rain, perhaps more thunderstorms. And then as we get on into Saturday afternoon and Sunday morning, you can see Sunday it's still in the area, but then it starts to drift off to the north by late Sunday afternoon, giving the Outer Banks of North Carolina a dose of moderate to heavy rain. So that's the way it looks right now. We're monitoring it very closely. I told you that we would, and we will continue to do that. And we'll certainly be keeping our eyes on the satellite imagery. So for now, that's it for this briefing. I hope you enjoy your July 3rd evening. If you're driving anywhere, please be careful. It's going to be a record number. So we heard of travelers traveling by plane and also by vehicles. So be very careful if you head out. Please enjoy tomorrow, our nation's birthday. And we also want to make sure that you watch out for yourself. You want to make sure that you're aware of what's happening in the weather. You're aware of any environmental changes, what's going on with the system. But we're going to be monitoring this very closely. Fear not about that. And we'll be out with some updates, even if they're very brief, telling you if anything big or small is happening. So thanks so much for watching. I'm Dave Jones with Storm Center Communications and GeoCollaborate. Please watch out for yourself and watch out for your neighbors. They really do appreciate it. Have yourself a happy 4th of July.